From Illinois Public Media News, this is 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. It's Wednesday, October 9th. Coming up, we'll learn more about what mental health support services look like for students at a Northern Illinois middle school. That story in just a few minutes, but first, these headlines. The woman at the center of a sexual harassment scandal that engulfed former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan's political world is still impacting him as he goes on trial. Dave McKinney has more.
Elena Hampton could take the witness stand for prosecutors in Madigan's federal corruption trial, which began Tuesday. She once worked in his ward office and made sexual harassment claims in 2018 against a key Madigan political aide, allegations she says she personally delivered to Madigan himself. Madigan allegedly sought to distance himself from the issue, and his co-defendant, Michael McLean, allegedly arranged secret payments to that accused aide, who was forced out of his job. Madigan's lawyer told the judge that allowing Hampton to outline her story in court could prejudice the ex-speaker. Both sides are working on what Hampton might say should she testify. Her storyline is one basis for a racketeering charge against both Madigan and McLean. Dave McKinney, WBEZ News.
Illinois public health officials and a physicians group have launched a media campaign to encourage more adults to stay up to date on flu and COVID vaccinations. Dr. Asim Jaffer of Carle Health in Peoria says doctors having more conversations with their patients about the need for vaccines would help.
The current campaign really is reminding the general public that, we talk a lot about childhood vaccinations, but adults need vaccinations as well.
Jaffer says that the waning of COVID-19 concerns could be contributing to the low vaccine rate among adults and warns that there are still COVID-related deaths happening in Illinois today. Yesterday, Tuesday, was one of the last days to register to vote in Illinois. Alex Degman explains there are more opportunities to register, including on Election Day itself.
The traditional in-person registration deadline is 28 days before the election, but grace period voting starts this week. That allows you to register and vote on the same day. You can do that from now through Election Day at the spot designated by your local election authority. Early voting started a couple of weeks ago and runs through November 4th. U.S. citizens 18 or older can vote if they've lived at their current address for at least 30 days, aren't in jail serving time for a conviction, and aren't registered somewhere else. You can also register online at the Illinois State Board of Elections website. That's available through October 20th. I'm Alex Degman.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency says disaster aid will continue for Illinois counties slammed by storms back in July, even as Florida preps for a major hurricane, and the White House asks Congress to pony up more relief funds. Layla Gulen is a public information officer with FEMA.
It's just devastating to see what Mother Nature's wrath has dealt us, but just rest assured that the mission has been unchanged here in Illinois.
Gulen says the agency has distributed more than $30 million in Illinois since President Biden signed a federal disaster declaration for Fulton, Cook, Henry, St. Clair, Washington, Will, and Winnebago counties last month. The Cuba Community Center in Fulton County is currently serving as a disaster recovery center for those needing assistance. More FEMA relief centers are expected to open in other impacted areas. Still to come, we'll learn more about what mental health support services look like for students at a Northern Illinois middle school. That story is coming up next on 217 Today. But first, meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your forecast.
I'm meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your IPM News forecast for Champaign-Urbana. Today, look for sunny skies with a high of 78 degrees and a west wind 5 miles per hour. Tonight, clear skies with a low of 46 degrees, a northeast wind 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 77 degrees, an east wind 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow night, clear skies with a low of 50 degrees, a south wind 5 miles per hour. And for Friday, sunny with a high of 82 degrees and a southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour.
Next time on The 21st Show, author Ken Liu. He's best known for science fiction stories, or speculative fiction, as he calls it. He's also a former software engineer and corporate lawyer. We'll talk with him about his life, his writing, and the promise and peril of our uncertain future. I'm Brian Mackey. That's next time on The 21st Show. Join us.
You're listening to 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. Schools have invested millions in mental health support in the past few years. Peter Medlin shows us what that looks like for students at a Northern Illinois middle school.
Ava Peterson is an 8th grade student in Crystal Lake, and last year, during spring break, her friend messaged her. One of their friends might be in trouble. They seemed depressed, and she was worried something bad could happen. She didn't know what to do, but she thought Ava would.
It was over spring break, so there was no trusted adults at school that I could talk to. So I ended up calling for a wellness check just to make sure that person was okay.
Thankfully, they were, and after break, Ava told a school counselor to check in on their classmate.
They could have needed serious help, and if no one was there to help them, then you would never know what was going to happen.
Her friend thought she could help because Ava's a member of her middle school's Hope Squad. It's where students receive suicide prevention training from mental health specialists. They learn to spot the flashing warning lights of a potential crisis. And Ava and the Hope Squad are elected by their peers as people they can trust and they can come to if they don't know where to turn. She says most kids prefer talking to someone their age first because they might feel like they're going to get in trouble if they tell an adult. And in its first year or so, Ava says the Hope Squad has helped dozens of fellow students connect with the supports they need.
Kids shouldn't need to struggle by themselves. I think they should be able to get the help that they need so they can feel better.
And now her classmates at Crystal Lake District 47 have even more mental health resources within reach. All the district's kindergarten through 8th grade students can get free one-on-one teletherapy sessions. It's through a partnership with service provider Daybreak Health that was funded through a federal school-based mental health services grant. Kristen Schmidt is the district's director of social emotional learning and a therapist herself, and she says schools have taken on a bigger role when it comes to their students' mental health care.
Our priority should be on them being able to access their learning environment. But for some students, those mental health needs kind of preclude them from being able to do that.
The U.S. Department of Education grants also allowed them to hire more in-person clinicians, and those local clinicians can then refer students for teletherapy. That includes one-on-one therapy for students older than 10 and family therapy for even younger students. And while Daybreak works with schools across the country, Crystal Lake 47 is the first district in Illinois to partner with it to provide this kind of teletherapy support. Schmidt says this isn't supposed to replace in-person therapy services, but it gives families more flexibility.
There is an accessibility barrier, whether it's born out of insurance or finance or transportation, or just the mental health needs of the parents potentially for being able to manage what needs to be managed to get the kids what they need.
Dozens of students received therapy when they slowly rolled it out last spring, but now even more students are taking advantage of it. The district's contract with Daybreak runs through the school year, and Schmidt says they may continue it depending on how well it works for students. They won't just measure success by how many students use it, they'll also see if it translates to student success.
Maybe it's looking at office discipline referrals, maybe it's looking at suspensions, maybe it's looking at absentee rates, things like that, nurses' visits, things that we would look at that would be data points to kind of speak to what improved outcomes look like for students when their mental health needs or behavioral health needs are addressed.
Schmidt says she'd love it if more schools could offer this level of mental health support, especially with the help of federal grants like theirs. Crystal Lake was one of over 100 school districts across the country to receive the grant last year. And in all, the Department of Education announced nearly $200 million worth of school-based mental health services grants from the bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And back at her middle school, Ava's now helping train other students new to the Hope Squad. She tells the new 6th grade students to take their friends' warning signs seriously. When someone's struggling, it takes a lot to reach out, even to a friend you trust. So she says you owe it to them to help, especially since she and her classmates now know where to find it. I'm Peter Medlin.
That's it for today. 217 Today is produced by Stephanie Mosqueda. Reporting today contributed by Dave McKinney, Eric Stock, Alex Degman, Tim Shelley, and Peter Medlin. Music by the Kilbourne Alley Blues Band. Reginald Hardwick is our news director. I'm Kimberly Schofield. 217 Today is a production of Illinois Public Media. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.